Hello and welcome to another Crafty Snipers Airsoft video. On today's video I am not going to be reviewing this frankly brilliant M4 rifle by G&G. However, I'm going to be reviewing something that is equally as important to any airsoft gun that you'll ever have. And that is, quite simply put, the magazines. Now, what I've got here is an assortment of magazines that will fit any M4/M16, because obviously in the airsoft world that's what we tend to see a lot of out there. So I have a multitude of different styles of magazine, different capacity magazines. Now, if you're new to airsoft and you have your airsoft gun, or you've rented a gun, or whatever, you have an M4, you will probably have a high capacity magazine like this. But you'll start hearing people talking about mid caps and low caps and real caps. You're going to wonder what the heck those things are. Well, quite simply, this video is here to explain what these all are. Now, as I said before, high capacity magazines. Now, if you buy a gun from G&G, you're going to end up with one, maybe two of these high cap mags, and these are great for the new starter in airsoft. These magazines, like I said, called a high capacity because they hold lots of ammunition. This particular mag holds 450 BBs. So basically, if you have your M4 and you have your one magazine that came with the gun, you would really just have to buy one more high cap and you could run pretty much for a few hours on that. I personally would be able to run for a few hours on 2 high caps. They are great, like I said, for new starters. Me personally, I've been doing airsoft now, I think I'm into my 3rd year now doing it. I don't use high caps anymore, but I'm going to show you what else is out there for the M4/M16 weapon. So, like I say, you've got the standard G&G official magazine, high capacity magazine. You're going to wonder how this thing works. It's actually dead simple. What you have at the top of the magazine, you have a little trapdoor that if you open up, opens up the magazine. You literally pour in your BBs loose, shut the trapdoor, and you have a little winding wheel at the bottom here, and you wind this until all the BB, or most of the BBs, get fed up to the top here, and they'll show if there was ammunition in this magazine. You basically wind it so there's a little bit of tension on the wheel, not too much. You've got plastic gears in these things, so you can break these gears. I have dropped these and run them into trees and all sorts. They haven't broke, but I have seen magazines break their internals and become useless. So, like I said, you've wound your BBs into this magazine. It's now ready to go. You get it loaded up in your gun. You now have the best part of maybe 60-70 BBs that are going to come out before this magazine needs winding again. The downside of this particular magazine is the fact that, like I said, you're going to have to keep winding this to get all the ammunition through it. And you've got loose ammunition in it, so that when this gun's moving up and down, you're running, you're doing whatever, you're making noise. And noise attracts BBs, or attracts the enemy. So these are good, but they're not brilliant. Moving on from the standard issue G&G high capacity magazine, we have the Flash magazine. Now this still is a high capacity magazine, however it's a little bit different. It's a little bit of a sidestep from a high capacity magazine. Yes, it still holds best part of 450 BBs in it, and yes, it still feeds exactly the same. You've got a little door at the top, you pour them in, away you go. However, at the bottom, where the wheel was on the other magazine, there isn't a wheel, there's nothing here, so you're going to be wondering how the heck does this thing work? Quite simple. This one's even better actually. You have a little door and you literally pull that open and you'll see a little white pull plastic cord thing, I don't know what it's called, but anyway, you see that there and you grab hold of it and you literally do that 2 or 3 times, and the act of pulling this cord spins up the same gears that you have in the G&G standard issue high capacity magazine, and you will feed your BBs through to the top a lot quicker. You will also get a lot more BBs out in each shot compared to the standard issue winding the wheel job. So these magazines, like I said, they're a bit better, they're a bit more expensive. you can pick one of these up for about £12 basically from various airsoft shops in the United Kingdom. When it came to the flash mags, this actually was about 20 odd quid. So these are very expensive. I actually have two in my collection. I don't use them anymore because I don't use hicaps. But if you want to move on from wheels, flash mags are the way to go. If you still like high capacity magazines, that is, flash mags, brilliant. Now, you're going to be wondering through your airsoft club, and you're going to hear people talking about mid caps and low caps and real caps, all that kind of stuff, and you're wondering what they are. Well, that is like one of these. This is a mid cap M16 magazine. Now, I can tell this is an M16 magazine because A, it came with an M16 rifle, but B, if you have the standard length M4 mag and you line them up, you end up with the M16 mag being a little bit longer. In airsoft terms, it means nothing. It's just carbon copy, size-wise, dimensions of an M16 magazine. Now, like I said, this is a mid-cap. This does not hold 450 rounds. This does not hold 400 rounds. Heck, this thing doesn't even hold 200 rounds. This holds 160, 170 rounds. And then you're going to be wondering, that is a huge drop in ammunition from your high caps to this mid cap. What's the benefit? Well, quite simply put, these don't rattle. Okay, you got, like I said earlier, these high caps, they will rattle. There's loose ammunition in this. This doesn't have loose ammunition. There's no winding wheel, there's no cord to pull. Basically, what happens is you get this mid cap, and you have speed loaders like we all have in our collection, and you literally push the BBs in the same hole they're going to come back out of, feeding into the gun. You have a big spring, basically a channel that goes all up and down this magazine on the inside, with a big spring inside it. And as you are pushing BBs in, it's pushing that spring down and compressing it until eventually you end up with the best part of 160 BBs sat in this magazine, ready to go. Now, when you introduce your magazine to your gun, what happens is, as you fire, obviously BBs leaving the gun, and the spring is pushing more BBs up into the gun. So it basically self-feeds itself, and you end up with 160 rounds, thereabouts, firing every time you pull the trigger. So there's no maintenance on these magazines when it comes to the high caps. Like I said, you have to wind them every few shots. If it was a flash mag, you have to pull the cord every few bursts of fire. This thing, you're loaded up with ammunition, put it in a gun, away you go. Now, my personal view, this is just my personal view, mid-caps rock. Mid-caps are amazing. They're starting to get into the realistic side of airsoft, starting to emulate the real M4. Obviously, you're not relying now on having 450 BBs. You only have 160 BBs in this particular magazine, and it's now starting to make you think about each and every shot. You sometimes now don't want to engage every single target because you just don't know how much ammunition is left in this magazine, and you're going to run out. You're going to run out at the time that you really do need the ammunition. So, moving on from the standard issue mid-cap magazine, we're going to move on to my specialty, my favouriteest magazines that work with my M4 rifle, they work with my M16, and they work with my SA-80 as well. And that is this magazine here. And you may be wondering, it's just another mid-cap. This is a real cap. This holds 30 BBs, and I'm going to let that sink in here. You've gone from a high capacity magazine with a 450 BBs in it. We've gone to the mid-cap, which is 160, which is quite a drop. And now we've gone to 30s, or as we like to call them, dirty 30s. You now really do have to think about every single shot that you are doing. I can empty this magazine in the middle of a firefight in 2 to 3 seconds, and that's not a long time. So these are my personal go-to magazines for the 3 guns I mentioned. These are, I do believe they're made by Aries. They are plastic. Every other magazine I've shown you so far is metal. Does that mean that the Ares magazine, the Ares 30 round real capacity magazine is terrible? No, not really. I can put up with the fact it's plastic. It's not going to weigh like a real magazine, so, you know, it doesn't make a damn bit of difference. As long as this thing feeds 27 BBs, because as we all know in Airsoft, whenever you pull a magazine out of a gun, 3 BBs fall out. But as long as there's other 27 feed, I don't care what it's made out of. So, like I said, this thing's all plastic, feeds exactly the same way as any other mid-cap. You literally just put the speed loader in the air and load up. Now, obviously, this gun is G&G. Obviously G&G make their own magazines. G&G make their own mid-caps. They make their own high-caps. I could be wrong, but I don't think they do real caps yet. Does that mean that you're going to want to get G&G mags for your G&G gun? Well, you could. You could go down that route, because you're pretty much guaranteed that G&G magazines will fit in G&G weapons. This mid-cap is made by G&P, still feeds. As I said earlier, this is made by Ares, still feeds. So, does that mean just go out and buy any magazine you want? No, really do. If you're going to go down the road of having mid-caps and maybe even real caps, you're going to want to do some research and try and find other people that have used those magazines in that particular gun, because even though they all feed roughly the same and they all feed into roughly the same area on the magazine well there is sometimes when you're gonna buy a magazine, you're gonna put it in your gun, and it's just gonna it's either gonna be so loose that it's just gonna fall out, or B, it's just not gonna feed. You may even have to do some modifications to your gun or your magazine. As you can see, these will have tape on them. It's not there for decorational purposes, it's there just to widen it up in the mad weld so that the magazine sits in there. I mean, there's a little bit of wobble on that, side to side and next to nothing. But I had to put tape on there to stop that from rattling. Also, another little mod that I've seen people do quite a few times to most of their guns when they're trying aftermarket magazines is in the magwell. I don't know if you're going to see this, but in the magwell on the M4 just here is a white strip of Velcro, and again it's just pushed in there and it's stuck down, and it basically allows the magazine to feed in, click, and just sits there nice and snug. It's not going to fall out anywhere, and like I said, all 30 rounds feed in. So that was my review on different magazines for the M4/M16. I can't even get my teeth around that one. I hope you found it interesting, and if you have any suggestions for any further reviews on stuff other than the actual guns themselves, so say you want to see camouflage, or you want to see suppressors, even stuff you want to add onto your weapon, drop us a line, personal message me. I'll see what I can do. It's, you know, I'm trying to get a lot of I've got a lot of ideas for stuff to do for the new year. Obviously during matches now I've got a helmet camera which I've put on the side here, which is going to show you hopefully some good kills of me killing the enemy. I am going to do some videos on my sniper rifle collection that I have, which comprises of a very upgraded JG Bar 10, which is a beast, and as you all know I have the SVD Dragunov, which is still in its teething stages. I have used it once and it was freaking bloody awesome, but like I said, I want to get that gun all sorted out and then I'll get a proper review done on that. Other than that, see you next time, stay safe, don't do anything stupid, and we'll see you out in the field.